All right, welcome back to this week's edition of the LiucciCast with Sean Porter. Sean is joining us from Waco via Zoom. Little like many of the Aggies this week, under the weather. I feel like everyone I know's got it right now. And then we're going all the way to Orlando to join our good friend, Sean's partner in crime on the 2011 and 2012 defenses, Jonathan.
Did our whole college.
All through college. We're just talking about once y'all really started. It was like, who'd Jay Stu replace? Garrick? Jonathan Stewart, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I buried the introduction there. Jay Stu, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, Billy? I'm good, man. Glad to be on the show.
I know.
Excited to have you, Stewie.
Jay Stu, if he would live here, he'd probably be on the desk with us, because always a good interview. And I don't know many people that know sports like number 11 does across the board. So another great get by our booker, Sean Porter. So I guess, guys, let's dive into it. Stewie, we'll talk to you a little bit kind of what you've seen from the Aggies all season, as we go on here. And I know you were at the Florida game in person. Actually, something else we'll talk about later. Unfortunately, you witnessed the court storming the other night because you live in Orlando and we're at the A&M UCF game. So we'll dive into all that later, but let's just start with this week. Guys, the Aggies rolling along, and they ran into a buzzsaw up there in Columbia on Saturday night. Sean, I'll let you get us started because I've kind of been talking about it all week.
Yeah, man, as far as defensively, it was just a bad day for us. It was uncharacteristic in every way, at every position. It was soft. It was like we had a hangover out there. It wasn't good stuff. We weren't putting good stuff on film that day.
Please try again.
I just went through a linebacker blitz and talked about a lot of bad that we put out there on tape.
Yeah.
I think that it was a bit of the excitement from LSU coupled with a real physical game that we had last week, coupled with some freak athletes out there in South Carolina that can match us tit for tat in that, in those measurables, in those categories. It was just a perfect storm for South Carolina on last Saturday. So they got it done. Congrats to them. I'm still optimistic about the season. I'm still optimistic about the position that Elko's put us in his first year. Still pretty much happy with where we're at. I think that we still got a chance at it, man. So we go out there and do what we're supposed to do, win a couple of games to finish out the season, and we're right back in it.
Yeah, I think the reality of it, we can sit here and break it down all we want, and you can really narrow it down to go, they couldn't get that yard when they needed it on offense on multiple occasions. And then defensively, like you said, it was just a bad night. It was uncharacteristic. I think a lot of it, I said this today, guys, I'm like, they're just not going to have to tackle. And it doesn't justify not doing a good job of it because, like I said, Lenora Sellers had been sacked 25 times this year. So every other team
somebody can sack him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's sackable. I know he didn't look like it that night, but they also won't have to play a quarterback that's hard to tackle really the rest of the year, with the exception of, like, if they were to meet Alabama or somebody in an SEC title game, which, fine, we'll worry about that if we're fortunate enough to get there. But, Stewie, it felt to me, too, like it was just one of those games where a good defense just kind of, it snowballed on them. Did you get that feeling at all? Like, it felt like maybe if they make a few of those tackles early, maybe it goes differently, but it just felt like the negative momentum was building on the A&M side and the frustration, and it just felt like South Carolina just started feeling it.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, just your perfect trap game. A&M, they beat LSU, a big emotional game. South Carolina, they're sitting at home on a bye week, getting fed rat poison all week about how great A&M is and how they're going to come on the road and dominate them at nighttime. And, as Sean knows, that's just fuel.
Yeah.
All week you're just preparing for that. You're just waiting. So at any moments of critical situation, South Carolina, they just looked a lot fresher than A&M. A&M looked like a team that's been on a dogfight for the past couple weeks, and they finally just hit that moment, which maybe it happened at the right time. Perfect opportunity for them to reset as opposed to losing to New Mexico or Auburn in preparation for Texas, So everything that they still want to accomplish is still ahead of them, but maybe this is a learning lesson. Maybe they can stop these 15-yard personal foul penalties when it's supposed to be second or third and 10, and now they keep that drive moving.
What do you guys say when, whether it was at A&M or in the pros, like when you've got, a veteran teammate that's doing that, how do you get through just to say, like, hey, because Elko was saying this week, he's like, whatever I've been telling him, obviously the message isn't getting through. When you guys were seniors and you were veterans.
A veteran teammate that's doing what?
Getting personal fouls kind of week after week, multiple
Doing what
ones.
Shamar Turner keeps doing.
Yeah. Like senior Sean Porter, your friend, your teammate on defense with you as a player, how do you guys handle that?
I think it's a little bit of that's just ball, right? Like you have certain players that are so
on the
wired
edge
up out there. Kind of like a DeMontre Moore comes to mind as soon as y'all start talking about this. Even though he avoided a lot of the penalties, he's this close to getting a bunch of them all the time, right? And it's like some players just play on the edge like that, and it's like you have to let them go. If you try to rein that back, you'll ruin something, elite that you can have. I think that lots of players just have to live on that line. There are players who just play like that. It's like their motor doesn't turn off. A good example of someone who lives on the line and someone who sometimes crosses it a little too much, somebody right next to him is Scorton. Scorton has a super high motor, finishes every play, runs stuff down from the backside, tries to jump on top of piles, all that stuff, but he avoids the penalties because he's a little bit more mature in his game. That just takes a little bit of growing up. I think that as the NFL looks for those hotheads out of college, right? That can't control their emotions and knock people out and do all that because you can't teach that. You can teach somebody to get it under control.
Well, and Ndamukong Suh was that kind of guy. I mean, obviously the elite of elite players. I mean, he's as good as they get, right? Hall of Famer, but he was that guy at Nebraska and also obviously in the NFL kind of. So.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not applauding it. But
I know what you're saying, though. It's
as a teammate, I'm not tripping. Like, I'm not that mad about that because it's like you're a baller. Like, you make crazy plays in the backfield that nobody else can make. So if you get a couple penalties, whatever.
My question,
he just gets them in the wrong situation. So they'll have 2 negative plays, and it's supposed to be 3rd and 12, and he gotta, I gotta hit this dude a little bit. So now it's 1st and 10.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
gotta be smart.
When you're in those big time games, those are the situations where A&M ends up losing. It's supposed to be a 3 and out. Now it turns into a 10, 12 play drive and the defense looks tired.
That's right.
Then the offense goes 3 and out and then defense right back on the field. And it's like, you were just dominating them.
That, it's funny.
Stupid play.
It's funny too. And you say that, and not that it was a stupid play, but that second play of the game, Sean and I have been talking, and I want to ask you later, Stu, about these linebackers, but Scooby Williams has had a hell of a year. But you dial up the perfect play call on the second play of the game. He comes clean on a blitz. It's what you guys dream about, right? Just full speed, right at the quarterback, and Sellers gets out of it. That's 3rd and 18. Everybody all night was talking about how A&M can't play behind the chains. I can promise you South Carolina's not built to play behind the chains because he's not an accurate passer. If you give them time, they'll beat that O-line. I mean, I think that drive's over on that sack. And, Stu, you just nailed it. If you look at that first drive, instead of a 3-and-out punt to start the game and quiet that crowd down a little, it was actually exactly what you said. It was 11 plays, 75 yards, and a touchdown. And the lid blew off that place, and it never stopped, it felt like. So, you talk about the penalty, but it's like you never know when that play is going to – yeah, exactly.
Yep.
You never know which one is that play.
Can y'all think of a game where, when you guys were playing defense, and Sean and I talk about this a lot, like, Stewie, you knew, hey, if we can get off the field, we're probably coming back on the field up 14-0. You know, like offense just scored. If we get a stop, we're coming back. And I feel like on Saturday night, that's what Elko was thinking. They're going for it on that 4th and less than a yard. Now, he has said if that was a full yard, he wouldn't have gone for it. He said it was like a foot. If it's a foot outside in that range, even outside the 35, they're going. What did y'all think of that decision? Because we're always on that line, right? And I said this, being a Dan Campbell stan over here in Detroit Lions, he's doing some of that wildness too. Everybody talks about Lane Kiffin, but Elko's like 35-yard line, first drive of the game, we need a foot. We need to be able to gain a foot. Where were you guys thinking on that? Like before the play?
I'm great with the decision. I'm happy with the choice. You know, that's fine with me. We need to take chances, especially with our kind of team. It's not like we're not one of those all-time great, elite, talented teams that has every piece at every position, and we're just, you know, just this powerhouse, right?
Yeah.
That's not us, right? We put these games together. Between great coaching, great scheme, great players, playmakers, we're putting these games together. O-line coming together, we're putting this stuff together, right? So, yeah, sometimes our coach needs to make a decision like that and make a play for our team and be able to make a decision that could put us ahead. What I didn't like on Saturday was something that I just talked about 2 weeks ago. Colin Klein is supposed to be a maestro of the short yardage. He's supposed to really have a keen, you know, perspective of how to get that 1 yard, how to get that 2 yards. And I hated to see us go out there and be in those situations over and over, and it looked like we can't get a yard against these guys.
Yeah, and look, I'll say this. You and I have talked about it. They've been really good in short yardage this year, and it was just a crappy time to not be. One of those, Le'Veon Moss was in the game, and they ran that quarterback sneak. My only complaint about that play was I hate the I'd rather get up to the line. You guys are linebackers. You tell me. I'd rather get up to the line quickly, snap it, and go if you're going to run that short QB sneak versus get up the line, shotgun, fake, get up under, fake snap, you know, bark the signal, and then finally right before the play call. I don't know. You guys are defenders. What would you be more comfortable trying to stop? The quick run up to the line, snap it, or the long pause and all the gamesmanship and then snap it?
So for this A&M team in that situation, I wouldn't think that they can just blow that South Carolina team off the ball. So I don't think running the ball just straight down between the A, B, or C gaps is going to win it for A&M with anywhere. I think they got to let Marcel get on the edge and let him have an option because that's his best trait.
Well, and what
I wasn't working out on Saturday though.
Yeah, so
but that's what they do.
How much are they missing Bisontis, Sean?
I think as far as the cadence of it and the rhythm of it, like you said, getting the shotgun, going to center, quick snap it, getting the shotgun, going to center, wait a long time, then just kind of ooze into it at the end.
Yeah.
I prefer either just beginning off under center and going or shotgun to under center and go quick. I think both of those things kind of give you at least a little bit of an advantage if you don't got a real twitchy guy at defensive tackle.
My question, Sean, that we got a little delay we deal with these, but it's fine. But so I said, how much are they missing? Kind of combining what you and Stewie were saying. How much do you think they're missing Bisontis right now at left guard? And hopefully, you can maybe have him back for Auburn. If not, certainly you're hoping to have him back for the Texas game.
Missing him dearly. As we know, this O-line went through some injuries. It's kind of been pieced together throughout the season, and they played great. They've reacted great to every responsibility. I think losing Bisontis and Le'Veon Moss is going to really affect our short game and our ability to punch get those tough yards when we need them. I think everybody else has to step up.
Yeah. Stu, what did you think of Moss's season? Sean and I feel like talk about him every week. I thought he's been the team's best player. And to lose him, and then I guess follow that up with what do you like that you've seen from 5 this season and even Saturday night?
It's going to be tough for them. I mean, he was, the second or third leading rusher in the SEC?
Yeah.
So, I mean, just to be at that caliber within the SEC shows how you could compare on the national rank. So it's definitely going to be a big loss for him. But it's kind of going to have to be a running back by committee type approach. And Colin Klein's kind of just going to have to utilize his pieces as efficiently as he can. One of those guys won't replace him. It's going to have to be a combination and utilizing certain guys for first and second down and certain guys for third down and just situational awareness. Just trying to put that guy in the best position to succeed, because I don't think they'll just have one dominant guy that they can just feed. It's kind of got to be running back by committee.
I think, and it's there's no committee, unfortunately, because they're already down 5-star in Reuben Owens. So it's like they went from 4 to 2. So they might be Bussy. You might see more Bussy at tailback. They might have to have an emergency DB train over there. You're in a situation now. Sean and I were talking last week, and we weren't even talking about from injury, but we were saying how Amari Daniels kind of reminds us of Ben Molina. And I brought up how Ben had to come out of that red shirt. What was it? Y'all's junior year, 2010 or 2011? He had to come out of that red shirt just to play Texas for Cyrus, right?
Yeah, Cyrus
you're right.
And now we were talking about it just to compare their running styles and how they're kind of unsung hero. And now it's almost like the exact situation, except at least Amari's got a lot more experience than Ben did at that time. But they're going to need – I think if I'm looking at one guy on this football team and say this guy has to step up bigger than anyone in maroon and white down the stretch, it's probably Amari Daniels. With that said, Sean, is there somebody else, if you're thinking like, hey, I want A&M, in my mind they're going to beat Auburn and beat Texas. Give me a name or two that you go, this guy's going to have to play out of his mind in these next 2 games, or just elevate to a whole nother level for the Aggies to win those 2 games.
Definitely want to see E.J. Smith step up and really become a player for us, really show everybody, that he can be kind of like a utility back for us and be able to get those yards in the passing game and show us the wiggle out there on the edge. Also, I want to see Bussy. I want to see Bussy get involved on either offense or defense. Yeah. And it seems like they took him away from the cornerback position, took him away from the defense, to be some sort of special weapon on the offense, but I haven't seen too much of him this season. I would like to see him with the ball in his hands a lot more on the offense, as the games go on, unless he just doesn't know the plays or, isn't somehow up top and able to be out there. And one of the receivers, man, I want to see one of the receivers really show up. Like I've been saying all season, I like Logan Thomas. I love what he's been doing. Honestly, in the fact that he's been getting open consistently, and he doesn't always get the ball. Yeah. He doesn't always get the ball in the right spot, and he's not getting frustrated. He's still running his routes full speed. Still a threat out there, even when he's not getting the ball. So I do like his swagger out there. I like his perspective on the game. That's my take.
I'm with you. I'm going to predict too. I think Noah Thomas in these last 2 games, I predict he's got a big game in him. I don't know if it's at Auburn or if it's against Texas, but I think you're going to see the big man go for 100+ in one of these. To me, another guy I'm looking at where I'm going, I want to see another breakout dominant performance. We saw one, I think, earlier in the season. I thought he was terrific against Florida and Arkansas. I want to see Shamar Stewart get back to one of those dominant games. I thought he was close to making a lot of plays this week. They seemed like they were running at Scorton a lot, right? You and I were texting during that game. But I want to see for Shamar Stewart. I could see him having one of those game-wrecking type games. I think they're going to need it down the stretch here. Maybe it comes against one of these tackles at Texas, because they're saying they're both supposed to be first-rounders. And again, just like the LSU game, all we heard about was their offensive tackles, and Stewart and Turner really, as the game went on, handed them their ass. They were unable to do that on Saturday night. I think a lot of that had to do with, again, like I said, just missed tackles that could have put them behind the chains, and they just couldn't bring the dude down.
Go ahead, Stu.
Yeah. So for me, I'm thinking Cyrus Allen and the tight end position. Yeah. Just A&M's ability to win in the middle of the field and create one-on-one situations for the guys on the outside. Like, Noah Thomas. But because ultimately teams are going to try to stack the box and make A&M throw the ball out wide. However, if they can simply make that a lot easier by controlling the middle of the field via the passing game, the short game, I think that's a big key to their success. Because then it just keeps the defense off balance.
Yeah.
You can't really predict what Colin Klein is. He going to pull a guard this way and read this guy and still try to throw it?
Stu, another thing I wanted to ask you about what I watched in the game from the defensive line in particular, is Scorton. They targeted Scorton in this game, from what I saw. They ran at him over and over and over. It's like they tried to wear him out. It was like body blows. Like they were trying to not. Maybe they were doing that because they didn't want him to be, hell on the edge in the pass rush. But I feel like last year I saw a lot. What I wanted to see out of us from our defensive line right there. All of those players are very multiple. They're all very much able to bump one inside, move one over here, move one around.
Mm-hmm.
Last year we saw a lot of 5 on the edge playing that defensive end. There was an old defensive end for the Eagles who he reminds me of a lot. Maybe Stu can, you know what I'm talking about, Stu? Old defensive, maybe Brian something.
No, I know who you're talking about too.
A big boy DN for the Eagles that used to play.
He might be from Mississippi
State. That's what Shamar Turner reminds me of, or Stewart. 5 reminds me of. And I feel like we could have made an adjustment and put him out on the edge, maybe move Scorton over to the other edge, bump 4 down, and we could have stopped all that. Like, we could have shut all that up a little bit. What do you think about just, like, the mix of those guys out there? You think they're all in the right spots? You think we could move them around, intermix them a little bit more to kind of throw off the offenses?
I think they're in the right spot. I think the biggest problem with South Carolina was just dictating the terms. You know what I'm saying? So they're in positions where they can ultimately decide what they want to do, and A&M isn't dictating the tempo. That's A&M's biggest success is, A&M can match it with anybody talent for talent. You know what I'm saying? But if offense is in situations where it's 2nd and 4, 3rd and 1 versus 2nd and 9 and 3rd and 7, it's just a completely different ballgame, as you know as well. And they can really identify which areas they want to attack, and defensively, you're kind of on your heels because, you're barely making tackles, or whenever you do make tackles, you're making silly penalties. So, you're kind of sitting there and kind of just holding on. And that's the result that we get is.
Yeah. I just feel like at the D-line, we got so many of those guys, and they're all so good and so talented that we can, if we're struggling at a point like that, or we got somebody that's kind of getting drove at over and over, we can kind of shut that up by just shaking it up a little bit and giving them a different look on 1 or 2 drives, and that'll stop the play caller from just running those same type of plays to the edge over and over and over and over within the game. What we like to do every week, Stewie, is kind of around college football, anything in sports you're that's on your mind. I guess I'll start you guys off. Like, let me hit you with a hypothetical. If A&M were to win their final 2 SEC games, Auburn on the road and Texas. I'm going to give you that if, and we know it's a big if, but we also know it's doable, right? If they win those 2 games, who do you think they would face in Atlanta? We'll start you off, Stewie.
In the SEC championship?
Yep.
Georgia.
Okay. I agree. Although this weekend I want to talk about with y'all before we go. Sean, who do you think?
I think Georgia as well.
Okay, so
Georgia's looking tough.
Okay, so here's my thing with Georgia though. They look so good against Texas, and they're lucky Lagway got hurt Saturday against Florida. I know that's a rivalry game, but you could go back. Their offense just isn't. Their defense is elite. Their offense just isn't clicking. I think they're due for some close games. My question to you guys next would be then, so y'all have Georgia winning in the Grove at Ole Miss this weekend, huh?
100%. And I don't think Lagway makes a difference in that last game. I mean, Lagway hasn't been a world beater when he's been on the field this year. So
that other guy was so bad. I'm like, oh.
I'm a Kirby Smart fan, but if Carson Beck turns the ball over, if he throws 2 or 3 interceptions, they lose.
See, yeah, and that's I think I'm going to pick Georgia, but it makes me not nervous because it would actually, I think, benefit A&M if Ole Miss won that thing. But,
Georgia, to me, like that Ole Miss defense is probably the toughest they're going to see this year. Up front, they have a good defense there led by Pete Golding, and it's on the road, and it's against an offense that I think might be able to get to that Georgia secondary a little bit. We'll see. I mean, Georgia.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Me and Stu talked about that a little bit earlier. I don't think Jackson Dart is doing that to Georgia.
Yeah, well, he definitely isn't going to run much, right? Like he might not last very long.
If Lane Kiffin can utilize kind of Alabama's game plan and kind of combination of Texas, that might be the ultimate reason why Georgia loses, just because Lane Kiffin's kind of the third one going at them. They've already been exposed in these areas on film. This is where they had success. This is where they don't have success.
Yeah, that's
I think that because Ole Miss, they got a lot of talent on offense.
Yeah,
and if they can kind of jump on them and get Carson Beck playing in these situations where he's trying to force the ball, where Georgia's not dictating the tempo and dictating the pace of the game, then it's whoever, because talent for talent, Ole Miss can match up with them. Defensive line, offensive line, skill position. Ole Miss went to the transfer portal, and they got some dudes. They got Walter Nolan, Princely. I mean, they got dudes.
Yeah. What about so moving on to the other big game in the SEC? I think I might head to Baton Rouge Saturday, pending this weather. Looks like that hurricane or tropical storms made a hard left, and so might head up there. What are y'all's thoughts on LSU Bama? Another one. LSU's kind of in the same boat as A&M. It's like win out and you're in. Win out and you're in. They've got Bama at home. I think they got Vandy at home and Florida on the road.
I got Alabama.
Okay.
I just do not believe in Brian Kelly over there at LSU. I don't think it's going to work out. I don't think he's a great fit for them at all. His name slips my mind right now, but the new guy over at Alabama.
DeBoer.
I don't think. Say it again.
Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer. I don't think that he's like culturally a true fit for Alabama, but I think that kind of with some work he can fit over there.
Yeah.
But I do think they're gonna take care of LSU.
All right. Well, if that happens, if you guys are right, and Georgia
What you think
wins,
still on that one?
I think it's based on the play of Jalen Milroe. If he's got zero ability to attack down the field, LSU's gonna win.
Yeah.
If Alabama just tries to win the physicality game and only run the ball, I think LSU will win because LSU just offensively, they just got some crazy slot receivers these past couple of years.
Yeah, they have.
I don't know where they're finding these dudes at, but
you know exactly where.
It's a new dude, and they just dominate.
You know exactly where because you're from Louisiana. You played against those guys there. That no state, I feel like, has more guys than Louisiana like that.
Oh, these little jokers in Florida, they something.
It's true.
Yeah, they something, ain't they?
That's true.
These little jits out here in Florida.
Are you raising a couple of them? Are you boys going to be? Are we going to see the Stewart boys in a few years?
Yeah, we go against them. I mean, we play competitive flag football, and so we get out there and compete.
Do the Twins have a little dog in them yet?
We're trying to develop it. I mean, right now they're just trying to somewhat get used to being in a competitive environment and just believing in yourself, because that's what sometimes the biggest thing at an early age is you don't really know what you're capable of, and everybody in this world try to tell you you're wrong, but just believe in yourself. Don't really matter what they say.
No doubt. Well,
I got a quick little story about that Florida football down there. I grew up in Florida, my younger years, and I remember being 8 years old and playing full pad tackle football. But we literally on a Saturday morning out there in Florida, we played a football tournament. So we played like multiple games in one day in a bracket to the championship at nighttime. We started in the morning and we ended at nighttime in the championship in like our fifth game of the day.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. And they do it year round.
That's a crazy split, and that's the real deal. That's what they do down there. And that was normal for us. We didn't even know it was weird.
Yeah.
You're starting at 6U.
Yes, sir, buddy. Full
Better
pass.
bring
Put that
it.
helmet on.
Better bring your tent and your umbrella.
We didn't do that, the Sugarland Cowboys. And now here in Texas, they do that, and it's called flag football. Or, it's not 7-on-7 or whatever. It's not like you're talking about. So, yeah, I do think there's a difference, and I do think that's part of why A&M has done such a good job, and Jimbo did a great job of it, and Elko's following suit. You've got to recruit this footprint, too. You've got to recruit the SEC footprint. You can't have just, there's not enough to go around to have just Texas kids anymore because everyone else is coming in to take them way more so than they used to. And part of that is, travel's become so much easier and more common than when y'all were kids, even especially when, like, my generation, like, it was hard to get on these visits and stuff. And now you got recruits that'll go to 11 different camps during the summer. They'll see every campus in the SEC when they're a sophomore in college. So times have changed. You definitely have to recruit that footprint. I think the Aggies have done a really nice job out in SEC country, and they're actually doing a great job right now. For those listening that follow these things, they're kicking ass in Georgia and making real inroads in Florida too. So we'll see how that goes. Guys, anything else we wanted to talk about? I know
Jameis
Winston gets the win. Jameis gets the win.
That's just something that popped in my head, man. Jameis is such a crazy character, and the fact that he's
those
still
pregame
out there just slinging that
speeches,
thing,
those interviews are amazing.
It's amazing to me.
Those interviews are just gold.
Yeah.
What about Stewie? What about your Cowboys?
No, they're on the struggle bus. And, but hey, Dak got his contract and CD got his contract, so still ain't nothing wrong with the Cowboys.
Nah, you got to sell. You can't even fix it through the draft. You got to sell. You're gonna have to trade your players. You're good players.
Well, nobody's trading. They can't trade Dak or CD, so
not them.
Hey, Cowboy or Lions and Texans Sunday night. Where do y'all think that one goes? Texans coming off a tough loss. Lions are rolling. I feel like that's a setup for a great game.
I hate the loss of Diggs at the Texans. Go ahead, Stu.
I think the Lions going to steamroll the Texans, unfortunately. I think the Texans just a little bit too hurt, a little too banged up. Unless Nico Collins comes back. But with Stephon Diggs tearing his ACL, Nico Collins being hurt, they just don't have enough to challenge the Lions vertically.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
But the Texans, they will have the battle red uniforms.
It's battle red
night.
Look
fresh, but they're going to take that L.
It's gonna be a bloody day for them.
I hope. I'm a Texans fan, but I hope they do. It's Dan versus Gerard. Love both of them, but I think the Lions have a lot to play for. And that NFC North, man, you got to just keep winning. It's the toughest division in football this year, isn't it? With the Packers, Lions, Vikings up top.
The Vikings are playing out of their minds. I think that Flores over there on that defense is just, he's really putting it together. And I like to see the emergence of Darnold out there too, man. Darnold's got great targets to throw to, though. Addison and Jettas, you really don't get no better than that.
Hey, let's close it out with a little quick NBA talk, because I know Stewie. Who are your two teams in the NBA Finals this year, and who do you got winning it? And then give me your MVP. We got the season just getting started.
Not the East. You got to say the Celtics.
Yeah.
And out the West, I go with the Thunder.
I love the Thunder.
And for me, I'd say I'd see the Celtics winning it again. Just if they can stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, part of it's kind of based on the system that Brad Stevens has built there. And building it between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And then if Kristaps Porzingis comes back and plays 25 games at the right time and scores a bunch of points.
I'm with you, man. I love the Thunder. I know Mavericks fans aren't going to want to hear that, but and it's not only because of Caruso. I loved him last year. If that one guy, and I forget his name, would have just quit trying to fire up threes and miss every single one of them against the Mavs, they might have won that series. But I like their obviously Gilgeous-Alexander, but I like their energy. I like their teamwork. Their chemistry seems really they've got the pieces. And then you got Chet Holmgren. I like that team. I'm with you. I think Thunder and Celtics in the final.
I like that matchup for the finals, Thunder and Celtics, but I do think that if it gets down to the nitty-gritty and it's the Thunder versus the Mavericks in the Western Conference, Mavericks are going to beat them because they have a more veteran presence, more championship DNA on their team now, especially with the addition of Klay. I think that puts you in a real pickle now with Klay on the court with Kyrie and Luka and those dunkers, because it's really an easy, simple play that they're running. I mean, it's a back pick or they're running a basic pick and roll, and you're in a pickle automatically. Either Luka's coming at you downhill full speed, they're throwing an alley-oop almost every time to one of those two guys, or Klay or Kyrie out on the edge, pick your poison. What do you want? I mean, that's going to be very hard to contend with in the playoffs, I think.
All right, guys, appreciate tonight. That was fun. We had a good time after a loss. That's always a good thing. Tells you we're doing a good little show here, Sean. So appreciate you getting Stu. Stewie, thanks for joining us. Tell your dad I said what's up. And
me too.
Yes, sir. He was at one of the Missouri game.
Was he really?
Yeah.
The judge was in town.
I didn't even go to that one.
All right, well, Stu, let us know when you come down. Like I said, we'll make it happen for a basketball game. We'll schedule it whenever you're ready to get down to Texas. I know you watched the Aggies the other night when you saw court storming, so we won't bring that one up. But
where they struggled to score any points the last 2.5 minutes of the game,
and
they were winning by 6 or 7 points with 2 minutes to go, and you lose that, Sean.
That was frustrating.
At least it's the beginning of the season, so we still got time to make that jump before the March Madness.
Hey, they got a big one Friday. This non-conference schedule, they got a big one Friday night. Before we go, have y'all looked at their schedule? Stu, I know Sean wouldn't have.
Nah,
I have not.
You have not?
I just happened to look at UCF's schedule, and I'm like, why are they playing Texas A&M first game of the season? I don't know, but I'm going.
I'm going to read you. This is the schedule, the non-conference. I'm just reading the non-conference. They play. I don't know why it's showing it like this. Wait a second. They start off with this Friday night. They're going to play Ohio State.
That'll be a tough game.
Who just beat Texas in a tournament in Vegas. So they've got Ohio State. I'm just naming like the highlights of the schedule. They go to Vegas for a tournament where they play Oregon and Creighton, minimum. San Diego State, who's always there, right? They play Wake Forest at home. They play Texas Tech in Fort Worth. They play Purdue at Purdue. Or no, I think they play Purdue at neutral, but they play Purdue. And then they open SEC play with Texas. So that is a brutal start. And obviously they'll have to play better than they did the other night. But like you said, plenty of chances on that non-conference schedule. So it's like one or the other. It's either a great opportunity or you get chewed up early on. I think they'll show to be better. They got to get their guard. They had a great transfer from SMU at the guard spot that didn't play the other night. So hopefully he'll bring some juice.
Yep. All right, so I know we kept you a long time, man. Thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate you coming on, brother.
Oh, not a problem, man. I'm glad to be here. I guess I'm glad I posted that video, so you reached out.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Stewie. Love you, buddy. We'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Y'all take care. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Yes,
see y'all.
All right. See y'all.